Meta AI is the personal AI to help you with whatever you need. Plus, it meets you where you are. Not only is Meta AI now an app, but it's also on the apps you already know and love: Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, and Messenger. Plus the Ray-Ban Meta glasses. It's easy to access wherever you are. So whether you're talking or texting, Meta AI is convenient to use throughout your day. Experience our newest AI that's tailored to you by downloading the Meta AI app. Try the Meta AI app today on the Apple App Store and Google Play.
Welcome to Farm Year Daily, a field-forward podcast. I'm David Geiger, your host. I've been on Iowa TV and radio for the last decade, and I am excited to join you on this podcast, Farm Year Daily. Today on the program, a new generation of leaders were selected within an advisory committee of the Iowa Farm Bureau. Then we head to Northeast Iowa and talk about crop progress there. An agronomist will speak about that. Please be sure to like and follow the podcast as well as our social media at Field Forward Pod. We would love to have you join our community, keeping folks informed about what is affecting our farmers. This is Farm Year Daily. And joining us on Farm Year Daily, we're going to talk about the next generation of farmers. We have Michael McEnany with us. He is the chair of the Iowa Farm Bureau's Young Farmer Advisory Committee. Michael, it's so glad to meet you and talk to you. I really appreciate you being on the program. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself and how you got started in farming?
Sure. Thank you, David. A little bit about myself. I reside between Colo and Nevada, Iowa. My wife and I, we have acreage and we raise cattle. We run a commercial Angus herd, about 25 cow-calf pairs, and we sell locker beef direct to the consumer, just quarters, halves, and wholes. I work full-time for a neighboring farmer, so my full-time off-farm job is actually working for a farmer. And then my wife, she works full-time at Iowa State as a program specialist, and she also waitresses at What You Smokin' at Luther on evenings and weekends throughout the year.
Michael, what is the name of your business? You mentioned that you do a direct-to-consumer cow-calf operation.
The name of our business is Double M Angus. We are just based outside of Nevada, Iowa, just between Nevada and Colo.
I'm hearing you guys keep busy, and that seems pretty typical off-farm jobs, sometimes plural, with folks especially starting off in farming. And what was your initial thoughts on getting into this Young Farmer Advisory Committee?
Honestly, it's been an honor to be involved with this Young Farmer Advisory Committee, as well as I was just recently elected chair of the committee here in June, about 2 weeks ago, when we had our yearly meeting for the committee.
I noticed your wife is also on that committee as well, Ashley.
Yes, so we were, I guess we were fortunate enough to be selected as the District 5 representatives to be on the committee. So we are currently in we just started our third year on the committee. So when you're elected to represent your district, it's a 3-year term, which is kind of nice, I guess, for us, because it's allowed us to, expand our horizons and get more involved with the Young Farmer program. There's 9 districts total across the state of Iowa, but the main thing is everyone that has gotten elected to the committee, obviously they're very passionate about agriculture and getting young farmers involved.
So, Michael, the way I see it, I look at this and I see you have an operation where you're selling cattle, and then you have a full-time job where you're working on a farm. Your wife has a full-time job and then a part-time job, and then also helps with your operation as well on the side. You only have so much time. What made you join this committee?
Yeah, time is always a constraint, but probably one of the main reasons we joined the committee was it was such a good opportunity to be more involved. So I myself got my start with Farm Bureau essentially back in, I'm going to date myself a little bit here, back in 2007. I would have been a senior in high school, and I got started getting involved with helping plant ag in the classroom plots at some local elementary schools. So, getting out there and teaching, it was, I think, third and fourth graders about crops, and we tilled an area, so they got to plant some corn and some soybeans, stuff like that. So that was kind of how I first got involved. And then next thing you know, I helped with that, and then all of a sudden I'm getting on the local county board, and just, I guess, remain active ever since. On our county board, I've held the positions of secretary, vice president, president, as well as voting delegate, getting more involved with the policy side of things down at the state level.
Michael, I got to take a small nitpick there because you said you're dating yourself, and I feel like you're dating us both because I graduated 2 years after you. So, I mean, I don't want to be dating myself just yet, but we gotta roll a little bit forward on that. I guess every day we're getting a little older. Michael, when you look at your operation and the work you do, working for a farmer nearby as well, what do you view as kind of the main important points to think about for young farmers, and what do you tell the Iowa Farm Bureau when you talk to them about it?
I guess for me personally, I spent a lot of years. I worked for a larger operation right out of college, and they were good people to work for. But the current operation I work for, I've pretty much worked for neighboring farmers my entire life. The current operation I work for, they've been great with. It's a little bit smaller size operation. It fits my dynamic a little bit better with what my wife and I have tried to accomplish with our operation, and it allows me a little bit more freedom and flexibility to accomplish some of the things that I and we see are important, as far as our operation, looking forward to the future, as well as trying to be out there and get more young farmers involved, because not everyone's got that opportunity available, and it's kind of finding what works best for you.
I think as well there seems to be kind of some leading issues that also go alongside. You have capital. How can young farmers start out? You have land prices as well. You have just the support networks that's necessary in a system that is becoming more and more influenced by the margins of what you can do with the most amount of land, etc. But a value-added product has really been something that has been promoted for the last probably decade or so as something that could help out. How much has starting your own direct-to-consumer beef process kind of helped you knock on the door there to your own aspirations?
When we started our business, I had a few head of cattle throughout high school and college, and it wasn't until really, probably 10 years ago where we really started to expand, because it's, you know what they say, if you're feeding one, you just as well feed 10. So,
Right.
so I got, it's kind of always been my goal to have, I've worked for, with other cow calf producers in the past, trying to gain whatever knowledge I could. And, it's just kind of been an important thing for me, that was always one of my goals, was I wanted to have my own cow calf operation. And then, we did sell some locker beef here and there over the years, just, half a beef here, whole beef there, something like that. But, when COVID hit, that was kind of the big thing on how we really needed to figure out the direction we were going to go with our operation, or where we thought we needed to go, because we needed that diversification, because you got years. Granted, lately the cattle market's been great, and I don't know how long that's going to hold out. I'm not going to speculate on any of that. That's not what I went to school for or anything, but it's just been great to be able to market a product to the consumers. We've got new customers, we got neighbors that buy from us, we got family, friends, whatever. But it's really nice having been able to try to offer a good quality product to people.
When I see what you're doing there, and I hear kind of the message you're trying to bring for young farmers, and in an advisory committee such as this, I do want to ask as well, what is your advice for young farmers when you talk to them, as opposed to the Iowa Farm Bureau?
A big thing is take advantage of the opportunities that are presented to you. you're not going to grow big overnight by any means. There's probably a lot of things I would do different over the years, but just like I said, you got to recognize when some of those opportunities are in front of you to be able to take advantage of those. And another thing to remember is not everybody's situation is different. I mean, you may have a good friend or whatever that they're going back to a family operation, and their dynamic is completely different from yours. You're trying to build something from the ground up, and you've had little opportunities here and there. Everyone's operation is different, so you just got to remember that. And sometimes, and I'm bad at this myself, sometimes you just got to step back and appreciate what you have, and just think about things like that.
Right. I think especially right now during these high land prices, sometimes even if you do have a family farm, if you just have a couple more brothers and sisters, it can be really hard to buy people out of the operation.
Yes, yes, it can be. That always creates a whole nother dynamic for that.
Just as a last note, I wanted to go back to you and what you hope to do with this committee and what the Iowa Farm Bureau hopes to do as they look at some of the next generation issues here in Iowa, and just ask what's a good goalpost to have for the next couple of years as you wrap up your third year.
Having attended the conference for numerous years, and when I say conference, I'm talking about we have our Iowa Farm Bureau Young Farmer Conference, and I just like to make sure that obviously as my term ends, within the next year, we'll be done stepping down off the Young Farmer Advisory Committee. But this having been involved with this has provided so many opportunities as far as networking, making new and lifelong friends, and just getting to see how other people do things, or potentially we even have people college age coming into this, so it's kind of interesting to see how their thoughts, opinions on building up their own operation or trying to accomplish their goals. So it's been very I guess very neat and very rewarding to be involved with that.
Michael, before we go, are there any dates to watch for if there's some young folks listening in or folks that are interested in learning more about the young farmer initiatives going on at the Iowa Farm Bureau?
As far as dates coming up, we have a Young Farmer Day planned at the Iowa State Fair on August 9th. So if you as a young farmer are interested in potentially helping work the Farm Bureau booth at the State Fair, reach out to your either your district young farmer representative, your local county board, and we can kind of get you correlated with that. We also have a tailgate at Jack Tri Stadium on August 30 for the ISU versus South Dakota game.
Oh,
So that one we have limited tickets available. So reach out to your district representative for the Young Farmer Advisory Committee. And we also I better put a plug in for this one. We have the yearly Young Farmer Conference coming up in January so it'll be January 23rd and 24th of 2026. That'll be in downtown Des Moines. And that is also a wonderful opportunity to go and learn about new ag opportunities, sustainable practices, new technology, any marketing stuff coming out, as well as networking and meeting new young farmers across the state.
Michael McEnany, the chair of the Iowa Farm Bureau's Young Farmer Advisory Committee. Thank you so much for joining us on Farm Year Daily.
Yes, thank you very much.
This is Farm Year Daily, and we'll continue our conversation here on the program. But first, we're going to take a look at the marketplace close for Wednesday. And there was some negative trade at the grain market close. July corn 6 cents lower at $4.10 and a quarter. September falling 7 and a quarter, $4.05. Soybeans in July 21.5 cents down at $10.25 and a quarter, with August falling 20 and 3/4 cents at $10.29 and a half. Soybean meal in July $4.50 a ton in the red at $276 even. Wheat in July 7.5 cents down, $5.28 and a quarter, with September falling 7.5 cents at $5.44 and a half. In the livestock market close for Wednesday, Live cattle in June, unchanged, $221.60 a hundredweight. August, down 57 cents at $208.97. August feeder cattle 5 cents a hundredweight more at $302.30, with September rising 15 cents at $302.60 a hundredweight. Lean hogs in July, 60 cents a hundredweight higher at $112.82, with August up 27 cents at $111.22 a hundredweight. That is the Wednesday market close. This is Farm Here Daily. And joining us on Farm Here Daily, we have Terry Basol. He is the Northeast Iowa Extension agronomist for Iowa State University. Terry, always good to have you on the program, and it's been a bit since we've talked last. What's going on in Northeast Iowa?
No, thanks, Dave. We've received a fair amount of precipitation or moisture over the last 2 weeks here, so things are looking up in that department quite a bit better than the last time that we had talked.
Because it was pretty drought-like conditions, I believe, for essentially everything that was in central Iowa for the most part, but we've gotten a lot of rain since then.
We have. I'm looking at the map for 2025 precipitation departure from normal from April 1st through the current timestamp for the date. And in my area here, we are anywhere from 2 inches to 4.3 inches.
Wow.
Above average at this time of the year. So we've basically kind of done a 180 about face, which is good. We've needed that. We're going to have to, make use of that for the rest of the growing season. We have July and August to get through, which, from mid-July through August, usually our moisture starts tapering off a little bit. So, and they've been nice rains. They've been nice general rains across our area for the most part. So, that has been pretty well received. So the corn is looking really good in our neck of the woods. Pretty much everybody was able to get out, get all their post-emerge applications done for weed control. Most everybody was able to get their side dressing done that they've needed for their corn. So, and so right now corn is pretty much, wrapped up as far as production trips across the field. We do have peak egg hatch for corn rootworm that has taken place. So now's the time, and the next couple weeks here is a good time to start getting out in some of the fields and doing some root digs and that type of thing to start looking for some potential corn rootworm, populations and things like that. So the two main things is you want to make sure you're looking at fields that you've had problems in the past, and to be able to make sure that your traits are holding up, as well as, any fields that you've had, extensive, especially corn on corn for 3 to 4 years or more. So
I appreciate you bringing that up, and I assume it'll have a little bit to do with my next question, because you mentioned side dressing done for the most part, post-emergence done for the most part. What are farmers calling to ask you about right now?
Right now it's basically, probably some things in the soybeans. There's maybe a weed or something that they're trying to target or timing for soybean post-emerge applications. We are nearing R1 for soybeans, so that's the first reproductive stage in soybeans. So I'm sure I haven't been out in any fields for the last couple of weeks. This has just been, wet to try to go take a look at anything and muddy. But we've probably got some fields that are either at R1 or very fast approaching R1. And so R1 is when you can walk out in the field, in your soybean field, and see a flower anywhere on any node on that soybean plant. And so once we get into R1 and beyond within the reproduction stage of the soybean plant, we need to double check our herbicide program, because there are some restrictions on some herbicides once we get into that reproduction stage of soybeans, where you're not able to use some like you have before that R1 stage. So it's always good to go back and take a look at those labels of your program and decide and make some decisions as far as, can I still use this? And if I can't, what are some things that I need to consider? So,
Is there really that much R1 out there? I know the crop progress report that came out on Monday said something along the lines of, I think, 18% was blooming.
yeah, right now, soybeans blooming is, it's just starting. Like I said, according to the crop progress report as of June 22nd, like you had stated, Northeast Iowa, 4%, North Central Iowa, 2% for soybeans blooming. So we're just right on that verge, of things happening. So it's always good. And we've had some rains and things like that that have prohibited guys from getting out and making some of the applications that they've wanted to. So once we do gear back up again and are able to get out into that field, into the fields to do some more operations, you want to double check to see where the soybean stages are, and just to make sure that you're on track with the labels and stuff with the products that you're looking at.
As we get closer to July, this is the time to also, aside from watching for pests like corn rootworm, it's a time to keep an eye out for disease. Have you seen much pressure starting up just yet, or is that something to look for next week?
Have not. So far, they've been fairly clean for the canopy. But like you said, it's a good time to continue to monitor that, so that when we get to VT for corn or right at tassel, that's the timing of, which is R1 for corn, that you would consider making that first fungicide application. So we have a brand new crop disease risk tool that has been put together by land grant university scientists, that is available for farmers and for agribusinesses to utilize, as far as it's a predictive modeling tool that was put together. And so um, it could be very, very handy for growers and for agribusinesses to utilize, um, to just kind of, what it does is it monitors the environmental conditions and determines the risk for disease development of specific diseases. So um, it's the very first this year. They've launched it this year, so this is the very first year that we have it as a tool to utilize, and it can be found on the Crop Protection Network's website, which is cropprotectionnetwork.org. And as far as a couple of the diseases that it can monitor right now, it's got risk models for tar spot and gray leaf spot in corn, and for frog eye leaf spot in and white mold in soybeans. So,
Terry, last note before we head out. What is the next thing that you're watching for, aside from, we just talked about disease, we talked a little bit about corn rootworm. Is there anything you're watching for over the next couple of weeks, specifically in Northeast Iowa?
just basically kind of watching for probably primarily disease development, and then with the wet nature that we've had, farmers having the ability to go out there and finish up some of those post-emerge applications that they need to for soybeans and that. So that would probably be the two couple main things to be looking for, because with the moisture that we have and the heat that we're starting to get, that's going to increase the humidity that we have in the corn, in the canopy of the corn crop, as well as the soybean crop. And with humid conditions and moisture and temperatures like that, we can start looking at the possibility of some foliar diseases developing. So it's just really good to stay on top and be monitoring and scouting those fields, and so that if we have to, we can ready ourselves for a fungicide application. But I'm one of the type of people that I go on a crop or a pest management approach or an integrated crop management approach where apply the fungicide if you have to, if there's a disease out there that warrants that application, that increases the ROI for that fungicide application, as opposed to just blanketly putting out a fungicide application. So
Terry Basol, Northeast Iowa, Iowa State University Extension agronomist. Thank you so much for joining us on Farm Here Daily.
Oh, thank you. It's a pleasure.
Thanks again, Terry. This is Farm Here Daily, a Field Forward podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Again, in order to continue to produce this type of local content, we would love to have you join our community. So please share it with your friends, follow the podcast, and check out our social media channels at Field Forward Pod. Additionally, you can find me on social media at Geiger Reports, as well as WHO TV Channel 13 every weekday in their morning and noon hour programs. Again, I am your host, David Geiger, and I'll be back again tomorrow, everybody.